share the macaroni, right? All of these things are really important. Another incredibly important aspect of Head Start is the Parent Policy Council. So a lot of people don't know that Head Start is actually the majority of the power in Head Start comes from its parents. So not only does Head Start hire parents into their program to become staff to serve other families, but also the Parent Policy Council is a place where the director is hired and fired and evaluated. The budget is approved by the Parent Policy Council because what we know is one, the most important person in a child's life is the parent. Also, that the most important people who can tell you what kind of programs and services that parents and young children need are the people who are living the experience. So that's what's guided my entire career. And what we know about Head Start, also what we know about GSRP, but what we know about early childhood in general is investment pays dividends down the road. We actually reached a space in the early 2000s. Prominent researchers would say, we can stop studying this impact. It is so well documented that Head Start and early childhood programs create a benefit for our economy. It helps bring people back into the workforce. It helps grow children in a way that they last all the way into adulthood. So I want to say how fortunate we are to be joined by speakers that can really highlight in real space the impact of Head Start and early Head Start have on Genesee County and communities just like this across mid-Michigan, frankly across the entire country. What study after study has proven is that it works. But we're here, unfortunately, because earlier this week, Mid-Michigan's Head Start programs came under attack from a hastily issued order from the Trump administration. The order froze all federal funding that powers countless essential programs across mid-Michigan. And it wasn't just Head Start that was affected. The White House froze billions of dollars in funding that supports child care, emergency response services like police and fire, veterans care services, food assistance programs, and our healthcare providers. For days, our office's phones have been ringing nonstop, with community members worried how they'd handle child care, access to their prescriptions. All of it came into question this week. So on Wednesday, after courts intervened, the White House unfroze the funds. However, it didn't stop. They vowed to continue to attack the funding, which could unravel the fabric of our community. So let's be clear. Any interruption in these essential services and these essential funding streams could be disastrous for Michigan families. Take a moment to look at the faces, and while they're doing this, their parents are working. Such essential programs. So I'm here to say that as your member of Congress, I will do everything in my power to fight any further Mid-Michigan families really rely on. To all of the organizations and individuals in our region who have been affected, please contact my office as we continue to track local in Buffy Elementary School and Early Childhood Director for the Pumpkin Patch Early Childhood Program. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, yes, thank you. I want to first thank Congresswoman for coming. Anytime we can put a positive light and have people impact early childhood is vital. Again, I'm Douglas Hibbs, the early childhood principal here at Pumpkin Patch Early Childhood Center at Buffy Elementary. Very passionate about early childhood education. So again, thank you all for coming. We know that research shows deeply that the birth to 5 years old is vital in a child's life. And actually, by the time they hit 5 years old, 90% of their brain's already developed. So if we, that's incredibly important. So we have to make sure we continue with these programs and processes. Our program here specifically, in this entire building, we have multiple programs, but impacts over 400 families. Our Head Start program specifically, again, we just visited some of them from birth to 5. We have over 50 families, again, like the Congresswoman talked about, impacting these families immensely. The parents are working, are out taking care of other family members while their kids are getting vital early childhood education, building oral language, working on fine motor, again, things that the Congresswoman's already talked about. Specifically in Flint, Michigan, we're a very proud community. I've been involved in the Flint community and the Kearsley community for over 20 years. We're an incredibly proud community that works hard. However, we all know that we have major impacts. We still have spillover from the Flint water crisis. COVID has affected us immensely. And then we all know we have crime, some major economic challenges with, again, I won't specifically name the businesses or organizations, but they go up and down, and we have jobs for a year or two, and then they're lost. So these families are directed by Head Start, and we've got to continue with that program. So we've seen Head Start impact many people, myself included. I was born and raised in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and by a single mom, and was a part of the Head Start program. But even more specifically, I mean, you've got people like Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Rock, Darren Walker, Bonnie St. John, Denise Juneau, which I found out is one of the first Native American women ever to be in politics in the state of Montana. So just phenomenal things. I mean, and you can go down the list and you see doctors, workers, and again, it doesn't matter to me specifically if they work at McDonald's, as long as they're working hard and they're being the best burger flipper that they can be, and a part of that is through the program. And again, Congresswoman talked about how this started in the 60s. President Johnson started some amazing things, so I think if we look back to that and those people think that the Head Start could be affected in a negative way, I think, they might not be happy. So again, thank you for your time. I'm now going to hand it over to Melissa Ricketts. She is a parent, a Head Start parent, so directly affected by this. But again, our parents are so highly affected by the program. They love it. They see the impact that it makes. That Melissa also became a staff member, so she's a parent and a staff member. So Melissa, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Melissa Ricketts. I'm here today as a mother of children who attend Head Start and one of the hundreds of thousands of Head Start employees. When arriving to work Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, I received the vague news that I may or may not have a job. Even though I work for Head Start, I also have 2 children who attend the program as well. If our funding were to be cut off now, tomorrow, or even in the near future, that would leave me without a job, and many children without care as well. In order for me to retain another job, I would have to find another source of childcare for my children first, considering many daycares have wait lists, very, very long wait lists. If I do not have a job, I then cannot financially provide for my children, and this is very scary to think about. With that being said, as one of many parents employed through Head Start, cutting funding could really impact many families economically. Not only could this affect the hundreds of thousands of employees, but many, many more children than the hundreds of thousands of employees. The Head Start program is more than just childcare. We as employees put our heart and soul into these children to ensure the future of their education, preparing them for the next stages such as kindergarten, which is very important to me and all my fellow employees. We as Head Start employees and parents would like to gain some clarity on what exactly this order means for our future of the employees and for the children. Now I'll pass this back to Congresswoman McDonald Rivet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to take any questions.
The order's been rescinded, but
Yes.
as we've seen in the previous Trump administration, that usually doesn't mean it's the
It absolutely doesn't mean it's the end. So while the memo was rescinded, probably having more to do with legal action and that the court stopped it, we also saw immediately on its heels a doubling down of the threats to cut these kinds of vital programs. And so Head Start is an example. Leaders across the administration have said, Head Start is absolutely primed to be on the chopping block. So it's, well, the funding, which immediately after that memo came out, everything was frozen. All the Medicaid, all of these incredibly essential services, our health clinics, our Meals on Wheels, things that are really providing basic needs for people, all of that was frozen. It's unfrozen, but they've been very, very clear that these things are still under consideration for being cut.
So with that expectation that they're going to try this again, probably relatively soon, what can you do and what?
Appropriated by Congress are required to then be utilized in that way. It's a basic function of the Congress. So we will work with partners and stakeholders and fight this in the courts. But here's the most important thing. We actually have to remember that there are people, there are faces, these are community members. This isn't about cutting waste in the budget, which I'm all for. And everybody thinks that, of course, we can make our government more efficient. There are places where we can cut fat, right? Let's take a real look at that. But when you put programs like Head Start in the crosshairs for elimination, programs that have decades and decades of research that show that they work, then it's gone too far. Then it's more just about a lot of rhetoric, and it means the people that are behind you in the grocery store. It means the importance of our seniors who are getting their meals delivered. These are real people who rely on these services in order to live their lives, and we can't have them in jeopardy.
And if you could take the podium. In conversations you've been having, I'm sure, with other Head Start folks, what are you talking about doing in preparation for when the next memo comes out? Are you talking about cutting saving funding as best you can? I mean, what are you?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, thankfully I have people above me and beside me that make those decisions. However, yeah, and again, thankfully we haven't had to make any decisions where we've had to make cuts yet, right? But anytime, like she's talked about, you look at efficiency and waste, and in education it's really hard because I always say it'd be nice to have one adult to one kid, right? And I'm not saying that's feasible. That's not what I'm saying. But whenever you have to cut people that impact students directly, it hits your heart, is what I'm going to say. So, but thankfully, I haven't had to make those decisions, and I do have people above me that really truly make those decisions.
Yeah, if I could, we did see some Head Starts in Michigan close for the day amidst that uncertainty. These aren't programs that have endowments, that have considerable bank accounts. In fact, the people that draw down, for instance, from Medicaid do it almost hourly. They're doing the drawdown. Most of these government programs, these services require you to spend and then being reimbursed. So the notion of being able to save dollars just in case for a rainy day, that's not how government programs work. And the uncertainty is a very big problem. So we heard from Melissa the importance of the people who work in these 10 years. Infant toddler care has an average wait time of 2 years. 2 years. And part of it has to do with we don't have enough workforce. So if there's no business in the world that would be able to operate in this level of absolute uncertainty all the time. It is just simply bad business, bad sense when we're talking about funding sources. Yeah.
Although this order was rescinded and obviously, it could come down again at any moment, why was it important for you to still come out here and, give this message today? Because
this is just the beginning of a very long fight. We know that there are proposals, they're even looking at the first round of executive orders that looked at programs that are benefiting particularly communities of color, vulnerable communities. Those are absolutely under attack on the daily. This is what we are going to have to put faces on and put stories behind to make sure people understand that it's not this aren't just line items that are getting striked up, that are being eliminated. These are the real people in our communities and the programs that have been here that have make sure people get fed, make sure people can go to work, and Head Start in particular. That was my start. I'm a mom of 6 kids. So the second you start saying that there are kids who aren't going to have care, there are parents who can't go to work, and there are kids that can't eat, you're gonna hear from me. And this is where we're starting, but this is going to be a very long fight.
And then I want to ask all three of you too. Any of you can answer. When this order came down, kind of what's going through your mind? I know a lot of different entities and people were kind of scrambling to try and figure out what all this meant for them.
Just with, I am a millennial in that generation, so social media is something that many millennials refer to, and so I definitely think this exploded, and to wake up and to see that I may not have a job or a paycheck is terrifying.
Yeah, and I immediately that day had staff members come to me concerned about what it meant as their job. Do they get to wake up and have a job tomorrow? And then on my mind, and in my mind, I also have to think, okay, because when you're affecting adults, Todd Whitaker, a important PD professional in education, says the best way to impact students is to take care of your teachers, right? So if they're worried in the back of their mind, what's going to happen, it affects the kids.
For the Congresswoman, can you just share a little more about any experience you may have had with Head Start and what you observed that makes you so passionate? And then can you each share if you were surprised or if you were preparing for this before the announcement?
Well, so now you're going to make me expose my age, but I'll do it. I'll do it. So I've worked my whole career in programs that benefit kids and families. And so I really started my career in the late 90s working as the executive director of Michigan Head Start. So I worked with programs all over the state, including early Head Start, the traditional Head Start for 3 and 4-year-olds, migrant Head Start, and saw firsthand the impact that it had, not just on the kids, which is powerful. I mean, it's powerful. If all of you could have been with me next door right before we came in here and watched kids that were looking at matching their letters with keys and little locks, and they were working on their fine motor skills, and then their face lit up as they got it, to be able to, at 3, to be able to understand a capital D and how that connects to a lowercase d. That's hard. That's hard. So powerful as they enter the school system when they're in kindergarten. But it's also what the opportunities that are given to parents, the family resource coordinators that help, vast majority of Head Start parents are living at or below the federal poverty level. And the things that some of us take for granted are not available to them. There's no Starbucks on the way to work if you're a Head Start parent. These are really vital programs that are critically, critically important. So I actually have also run an early childhood center when I was in Midland that cared for 350 kids a day through GSRP and private child care. We know good, strong, quality early childhood programs work. There simply is no question. They work. But it can't be done on the cheap. And we have to invest in our kids. The very first thing that we should be doing as a country is investing in our kids. Are you surprised?
So I've been with the program a little over a year, and I have worked other jobs before, but I do have 3 daughters of my own. So when coming into this, I have love for kids, obviously, but it's just so great to see, especially coming in at the beginning of the year this year, to just see how much these kids grow, and it's I don't want to say it's just because of us, but we really put our time into these children to help them grow and blossom and find themselves, because they are little people discovering a whole new world and learning all new things, and that's what we're here for. We're here to navigate them through this process and help single mothers, because I do see in this program a lot of single mothers, and this is big and vital to these single mothers and the help that they need so they can work. And if my kids weren't in this program is the reason why I have a job. So I just love everything about it all around. Thank you.
Yeah, after those two, I don't feel like I need to talk. That was, well, what they said. But yeah, my first teaching job was GSRP, Great Start Readiness Program up in Bay City. And just right away, I became passionate about it and saw the impact you make every day, from building the students' social emotional learning to their foundational skills. Again, I can't stress enough. I've already said it, 0 to 5 is the most important time in a kid's life. Why would we not stress that, and I've been an administrator for the last 12 years, was actually at the middle school, and I shared with my superintendent that my passion is early childhood, so I'm not just here, I'm here by choice. So again, for all the reasons they've already said, we are building bridges and breaking boundaries for parents, families, and the entire community. Was I surprised? Absolutely, because this might not be politically correct to say, but it blows my mind that we're going to take money from education.
So let me just say, our office was bombarded with panicked phone calls. And when people heard what that meant, which was cutting funding for our babies, cutting funding for meals for our seniors, cutting the most vulnerable among us, people started to panic, and they still are. We are still fielding hundreds of, and essentially what we are here to say is the line stops at killing funding for our most vulnerable people, particularly our babies and our little kids. Thanks, everyone.
On a different topic, the governor has not yet set a special election date for the 35th seat. You used to have that seat.
I did.
You're still a resident of that district.
I am.
Is now the time for the governor to schedule a special election?
I think that the governor is going to call it when she feels ready to call it, and that's really all I have to say about it.
But as a resident of that district, you're currently not represented in the state senate because there's no one holding that seat. Isn't it time to schedule?
There are a lot of factors that go into it. I have not spoken with the governor about it since after I vacated the office. But I know that she's concerned about it, and I know she's going to call it when it makes sense.
Other off-topic question. Senator Peters has announced he's not going to pursue or not going to seek re-election. I know you've only been in this job for a matter of weeks. Are you considering possibly running for the U.S. Senate seat in 2020?
Let me tell you this. We just got our computers turned on, right? We just got our computers turned on. So that's what I am focusing on. There is a lot of work to be done in the U.S. House, and I am very focused on that.
Okay, that wasn't a no.
Pretty close to one. All right.